And it's not that, oh, well, we're so great now. Gosh, I've made every single mistake in the book. And I think it's what's made us successful is the fact that we've learned from mistakes.
The first question I asked is, should you, when you're expanding a team, do you create the system first, or do you hire someone first and create the system with them?
I really believe you have to have a system in place first, policy, processes. I always talk about this, but Nick Saban and Bill Belichick are the two CEOs that I follow for everything. We don't need stars. We need people that fit into our processes, people that fit our culture. And if you can build a team around those types of people, I think you can have a cohesive, strong unit for a long time. And I think obviously the last year has really put that to the test. What type of people do you have in your business? This has been an interesting year, I think, for everybody, especially in this type of a business model, because this is a business model so heavily dependent upon traffic, people working. And so I think whatever you've created, I think you've kind of, seen whether you built a house on sand or a house on a strong foundation. And no matter what, I think everybody's been affected. But I think ultimately, I think it'll lead to good things in the future. I think we've employed a lot of strong business principles going forward, but not to stray too far. I really, truly believe that you have to have a vision. You have your vision. You share that with people, then you find people to basically enact, bring forth your vision. And it doesn't happen overnight. Gosh, when you're talking about how things started, I started doing all this stuff on my own. 30 years ago, I was the receptionist. I was the intake guy. I was the guy going to court. I was the guy dispersing the checks. It just grows from that. And it's not that, oh, well, we're so great now. Gosh, I've made every single mistake in the book. And I think it's what's made us successful is the fact that we've learned from mistakes. This isn't like this has been a straight trajectory to stardom or something without some, really stubbing your toe a bunch along the way. You make a lot of mistakes. And so when I talk to people, I try to shorten their learning curve, because I've made so many mistakes. And so I think that's, I think the wisdom is just experience and learning from mistakes and being able to hopefully impart that, to some of the people that will listen to things like this seminar, this webinar, and any other time you have the opportunity to mentor people so they don't make a lot of the same mistakes you made.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. I thought you were going to say the opposite is hire people and do the process after. But if you study teams like the New England Patriots, it's actually the process that exceeds a lot of the come and go team members. The next thing I want to ask, speaking of the New England Patriots, is how do you conceptualize the balance between family vibes in a law firm versus high standards and accountability? What I've noticed is that a lot of lawyers suffer from, they have people who've been at their firm for over a decade and they think that's a good thing. And sometimes it's not. It could be a sign of complacency if they're not actually holding people accountable to high standards. So where's that balance in your head as you've expanded between family vibes versus holding high standards and accountability?
Well, I think nepotism or rewarding people that are no longer performing undermines the credibility, undermines the very viability of the business, the team, whatever as a whole. You have to reward people that are performing. Sometimes, we're all blessed to have people that have been with us 20 plus years, but those people still have to be accountable and they have to still be held to the same level as your newer hires. Because if people come in and they see that people are just, getting rewarded, getting a paycheck, and they're not doing the job, what happens? People become disheartened and they become disinterested and they're looking for other jobs. This all is about culture. What is your culture? And I think for us, the most important part of our business is our culture. And that, it starts obviously from the two guys at the top, my partner, Kevin Rowe, and myself, but ultimately, what type of leaders are you bringing up and how are you rewarding people? How are you acknowledging people that are doing a good job? Do you have the confidence to be able to delegate to people? because you cannot sustain growth. You cannot be what you could be if you're not able to delegate. I can no longer be the guy doing intake and signing up every case and going to court all the time. So I have to be able to trust these people that we've created little clones of ourselves. They might not have all of our characteristics, but they have enough of our core principles and values that we keep creating that down the line. That's what you're trying to create. It's never going to be perfect, but it's the only way you can grow. You have to be able to trust people, and you're trying to instill in them the same values that made you start climbing the ladder in the first place.
Yeah. It's and trust is hard when you're, I always have this funny saying that the more skilled you are as a lawyer, the harder it is to build a law firm, because you're going to be trapped by that expertise. Sometimes our deepest skills become our deepest ruts, right? And our blind spots.
Well, can I interject for a second? I think therein lies the rub here. So many lawyers still try to play lawyer and run a business. This is a business. When you start a volume law practice, you run a business. You have 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 employees. You run a business. You can't be the guy going to court all the time anymore. You have to be able to delegate those responsibilities to people that have talent, people you have confidence in. But you are now doing all the things you never thought you'd be doing when you went to law school. You are running a business. You're out shaking hand, kissing babies, dealing with TV stations, dealing with ad people, making commercials, doing this, doing that. But ultimately, you have to choose between the two, and never the twain shall meet. The guys that try to do both can never be successful. I'm completely sure of that fact.
Yeah, and the vision part, I think the real pandemic for lawyers scaling their firms is lack of vision. So the question, I think, which is, it's not really a how-to question. It's more, how do you give yourself the okay to have a big vision? Because I notice almost every lawyer I ask, like, what's the next 3 years look like for your practice? Whenever I ask that question, it's like, just do more work. And for you, for people who are gobbling up market share and building real businesses in the industry, it's like this reality distortion field, almost like the Steve Jobs vision. It's almost borderline delusional, but on the other side of that, it's also inspirational and inspires people that something bigger is happening at this law firm than just doing work for people the way we did the last 3, 5, 10 years. So was there a moment for you where you just let yourself be a visionary rather than like completely drilled into the day-to-day?
Well, I think, some of these things are probably intrinsic to certain people. You're either risk averse or you're not. And I think that's where it starts. I don't like to use the word visionary, because we're just, this is just in the overall scheme of things, no matter how big our business is in the realm of personal injury practices, they're still relatively small businesses compared to, all the big businesses around us in society. Maybe in a business model, we've achieved a certain stature. Nevertheless, I think we're ultimately trying to employ the same business principles as any successful business. And that involves the people at the top sharing a vision, and the ability to articulate that vision to people, get them to buy in and engage your workforce. If you have it's like an army, it's a team, it's whatever. You are engaging people, you're bringing them into your culture. They want to be, for us, we want people to feel like they're part of something more than a law firm. Man, if you're just punching in every day, 8 to 5, and your hour for lunch, and that's it, you go home, they're always looking for something else. I look at everything, because of my faith, I look at everything in terms of stewardship. And in Christianity, the concept of stewardship is God puts people in your employ. God puts people in your care. It's not just taking from them. I don't want you working for me. You're working with me. We have a goal. We're here to help people. Yes, we make a few shekels along the way. Ultimately, we have to stay open, but we're helping people. We're part of our community. We want to be part of the fabric of our communities around the country. And for me, it's very evangelical. That's, at my heart, I think that's what I really am, an evangelist anyway. So when I talk like this, it's evangelical when it's talking about building practices, going out and preaching the gospel, whatever. It is evangelism. Nevertheless, I'm blessed, for the last 23 years out of my 30 years of practice, I've had this wonderful partner, Kevin Rowe. And, he's been, I made him my partner because he had a unique skill set of all the other people I've ever worked with. And he's just phenomenal at being in that corner office, running the day-to-day and letting me kind of go out and do what I do. And that's been because very few practices, and I think part of our success is due to the fact that we have a micro guy and a macro guy. Kevin is micro all the way. He is detail oriented. If there's a complaint, he can't go to sleep, whereas I see the bigger picture. And so you marry those two and you have a lot of your bases covered. But more importantly, Kevin is so involved in our community, especially in Arizona. And he's been able to engage, we have nearly 300 employees in Arizona, been able to engage those people in Arizona, bring them with our outreach, with Learn and Rowe Gives Back. He's been able to really get our employees to believe that we are more than just a vocation, an 8-to-5 job. These guys care about the community. We raised $1.1 million with our 2 golf tournaments in the last, the last 6 months we had in Arizona. That all goes back in the community. Our employees are involved in that. They see the bosses involved in our Thanksgiving giveaways, our book giveaways, our backpack giveaways. Hundreds of our employees get involved. We are more than just a law firm to these people. This is a vocation. And I think it does something. It galvanizes your workforce when your people are speaking to clients, when they say, hey, you made the right choice in calling Learn and Rowe. They feel it, they believe it. It's an affirmative response to people. It's an energy and people feel it. They know they made the right choice. Happy workers are happy clients. Man, my job in life is to make sure that my people have a good place to work. If I treat you right, if you're not getting harassed in our offices like some places. If we treat you right, we're godly stewards of our people. They go home, they have better marriages, they're better parents, they're better members of the community. Ultimately, that's our job. We're blessed to have the people we have, especially in the world right now. This is crazy. It's been a fight to keep people, with a lot of people having the incentive just to stay home and get paid just as much.
I'm curious your beliefs as you expand your lead flows regarding qualified leads and how the percentage of unqualified leads increases as your brand becomes huge.
Yeah, I think, and that was the important word you said. That's key. The word brand. It takes a long time to build a brand, and it's like building a foundation. You can't build the pyramids without a strong foundation. We've never been a get-rich-quick business. We know going into any market takes years to build a brand, because ultimately, that's the only thing that's going to sustain you. This is getting very competitive, and we all know it. Gee whiz, all around the country and every market, guys see the guys that have been marketing on TV, and they see they've done well, driving their fancy cars with the big houses, and say, if that idiot can do it, I can do it. So everybody comes in and they start doing it. This is the only business model really where you can have guys that can't run a 4.40 or dunk a basketball, making money like pro athletes or hedge fund guys, some of them, And so what does that do? There's no barrier to entry. Law schools are just shooting people out. So you're going to have a ton of people buying the word personal injury attorney, Nevada, buying personal injury attorney, Florida, accident attorney, blah, blah, blah. And you're always trying to stay ahead of the curve. Oh, well, if I spend more money to buy this term and this, you make yourself nuts. I think the only way you do it, you build a brand. Everything else is ancillary. It takes time though, and it hurts. And this is not for the meek. You have to have the staying power. You have to be able to sustain it in terms of money when it looks like it's going to get dark. We've had markets that we've gone into that we haven't been successful. And I think, sometimes discretion is the better part of valor. There's some markets that are very difficult to penetrate. We gave them a shot. It didn't work out and moved on. You're not going to win every single battle, but I think in our markets that we've been able to be brand dominant, which is, 5 or 6 markets around the United States, we're never going to quit being the brand, no matter what. So someone sent me a meme the other day, and I think it shows you how ubiquitous our brand, especially in Vegas where I started. It was a billboard of me on Mars, basically saying I'm everywhere. And that's nice to see, no matter, it's not any of my competitors. I think if you ask 100 people in any of our main markets to name a personal injury law firm, in every one of our markets where we're brand dominant, we will be the #1 name chosen. Are they going to be other names? Of course. Are they calling other people? Of course. But the key is to be brand dominant, no matter what. I mean, this is still a crapshoot, everybody. You know, it used to be if you were the big guy on TV, even up to 5 years ago, TV was 62% of the media buys. Now TV's down to 45% or even less of the media spend. So now you got 7% or more on outdoor billboards, 5 to 8% on radio, and the rest is social media and online. How do you pick? So our attitude's always been, if you can build a strong brand and then they find you, as long as they can find you online on that first page, they're going, oh, that's right, Lerner and Rowe, you know? Odd thing, you know, that's the important thing about a brand, because if not, everybody's flouting the rules online, right? Everybody calls themselves the best or number one, things you absolutely can't do legally, but online, it's the Wild West still. Every single attorney says number one personal injury law firm in Tampa, number one personal injury law firm in Alabama. We're not allowed to compare our services to other people, but online, it's the Wild West. You know, so who's number one? Who's the best? Number one, the best, the leader, the superstar law firms, you know, stuff they could never get away with on TV, on radio, on billboards, and they do it online because they're able to capture those people, and then they go mea culpa if they ever get caught.